Simon from simonwoods.com here. I have got 7 wines, which is not the normal number I try and fit into a video, so I'd better get tasting them quickly. Common theme, spiciness and Syrah stroke Shiraz. I think most of them will have Shiraz in, but first one may not, because it's from Côte de Roussillon Village, where it's, I mean, Grenache and Carignan are the 2 big grapes, but there may be some Syrah stroke Shiraz in there. Anyway, let's give it a whirl. So it's the Mas des Montagnes Classique Côte de Roussillon Village from the ever enterprising Logeril organisation. So, first thing I smell is there's a smell of herbs here. Yes, there's quite plush fruit. There's like this plummy, ever so slight raisiny character. Raisin in Southern French red is a character, especially in younger wines, that I associate with quite ripe Carignan, and I get a little touch of that here. But yes, there's this herbiness as well, and there's something almost like juniper. I don't know whether there's juniper in the surrounding vineyards, but maybe a touch of greenness as well from a touch of oak that might not be quite as seasoned as it could be, or maybe there's a proportion of it that's been in a barrel for not long enough. Does that sound weird? Anyway, I'll explain that on other videos. If you put a wine in a barrel for a short time, it's often oakier than if you leave it in there for a long time. But put on the contact form and just email me if you want to find out why I think that is, and I'll point you to another video. Anyway, I better shut up and taste it. There's a wild herby richness there that's really quite enjoyable, and £7 wine. I like its richness, I like its juiciness. It's got this nice mixture of, yeah, it's weighty, but it's not over the top. So there's ripeness there, but there's life beyond the ripeness. So there's this herbiness, there's that raisiny character, but there's also plums, very dark cherries. You know, the cherries that you get in Christmas cake, or those are bits of cake that you used to get when British Rail existed, and there was 1 cherry in a piece. That's like vanilla cherry bake character. I know what I mean. Tastes pretty good. At £7, you cannot complain. Let's see if you can complain about the next one. Also from Logeril, but this is from Chateau de Pinotage, which is the place they own in Cabadès. Cabadès is, well, it's if you know where Carcassonne is, it's on the outskirts of Carcassonne. And I think the appellation regulations say you have to have 40% what they call Atlantic grapes minimum. Atlantic grapes meaning basically the Bordeaux grapes. So, and they tend to be Cabernet and Merlot here, and also 40% Mediterranean grapes, tending to be Grenache and Syrah. So, and it could be that you have like a 50-50 Syrah Cabernet blend. That's allowed, but it could be that it's got other things in there as well, as long as those two 40% regulations are met. Chateau de Pinotage, 2008. Well, there's a smokiness of new oak that jumps out here. Also, there's quite a lot of polish, but there's beyond that, there's this orange peel and yeah, dark fruit character. It smells like it's going to be quite rich, but it's going to have a backbone of both tannin and acidity, because you're not right up on the flats of the Mediterranean here. You're a bit higher up, so it's not. Yeah, you do get a bit of sunshine, certainly lots of sunshine here, but you also get a bit of coolness and maybe even some winds. Not quite as windy as they are in Roussillon, but certainly not quite as torrid as it can get in other parts of the Languedoc. Well, the Aussies would say pretty smart wine. What's pretty smart about it is it's got backbone and it's got flesh. Sometimes they major on one, sometimes they major on the other. Here they've got both, and they're both in nice balance. There's this plush, polished character, so there's this there's a sheen of smoky oak there, but there's also this undercurrent of herby orange peel. There's a bit of wildness about it. So yes, maybe it's one of those people who was brought up in the right household, but then left home at the age of 15 to go and seek his fortune on the high seas, came back with a leg or an arm or an eye missing, and then married a local girl and made beautiful music. But tasty wine, and I think a pretty good start, those two. Let's see whether Gérard Bertrand, another mover and shaker of the Languedoc, can top those with his Corbière Chateau Aigues Vives 2007. Syrah, Grenache, Carignan and Mourvèdre. Doesn't say what proportion they are, and really, who gives a hoot? As long as you know. Oh no. Have you ever done that? You pour a wine out and it's got a little bit of cork in there. I'm just going to pour that out and pour myself another dribble. Actually, not a dribble, a major proportion for me. So it's a year older, and we're a bit further south, a bit further towards the Spanish border from Carcassonne. And here you can feel both. There's the sort of warmer, softer character of a draft of the warm south coming through, and it feels like it's going to be a bit more mellow. Maybe it's not as aristocratic as the one before, but maybe this is the wild man of the village made good. That's much more on that savoury tomato-like character, and red berries, dark berries, but there's a freshness and there's a sappiness about it. There's this juicy fruit, but then again something coming in to clean your mouth up. It feels like there's a framework of a bit of new oak, not all new oak. But overall, it's one of those. This is the one, the Logeril one, the Chateau de Pinotage. That's the one I'd have with the steak. This is the one I'd have with my my stew. My I know your coq au vin is a Burgundian thing, but I wouldn't mind that with some coq au vin. Cassoulet maybe is the classic thing, because it's got this it's tangy acidity. Almost it's weird. Syrah in some places can get this citrus peel character, and you think of citrus more with white wines, but certainly I'm getting the citrus on this, and a bit on the one before as well. I think those three are really nice, very good. Anyway, we're heading to the other hemisphere now. So we've got two Aussies. Two South Africans. First Aussie, well the Aussies are both from Wakefield. This is their 2008 Shiraz. Had the Cabernet the other day, which was a pretty decent kit. I was quite impressed by it. Stick my nose in here, and a classic Clare Shiraz. Earthiness, mintiness, a bit of licorice, because licorice is something I associate with a warm climate. Alcohol level here. Someone's helpfully put a label on the back, so I can't see. But I would imagine that alcohol is 13.5–14%. But it feels like there's a warmth, but there's also a dustiness to it. Yeah, juicy, chocolatey, berry, licorice. What I said about the Cabernet, it was the sort of wine that made us fall in love with Australia in the first place. Depth of flavour, maybe not the most complex of wine, but honest and rich. I'd say exactly the same about this. It's probably richer and fresher than the wines were 15–20 years ago. But it's an honest glug. I really can't fault that at all. I'd happily put that on a table and quaff through a glass or two. Maybe not quite as subtle as the French ones, but some people don't like subtlety. I do like subtlety, and I would tend to prefer certainly the second and third of the French reds over that. But pretty nice glass of wine. Let's see whether their 80 acres Clare Valley Shiraz Viognier can top that. Now I don't know how much this is. $10.99, blah blah. And the other one was about the same price. Why do people put Viognier in Shiraz? Well, first of all, it started off in the Rhone Valley, and it was because their Shiraz wasn't properly ripe. So what they do is they plonk a bit of Viognier in there, and Viognier is sort of like big B, I'm fat and heavy and bloated, and whereas the Shiraz was slightly green and earthy and herbal, and took a while to come out of its shell. Before it came out of its shell, the Viognier was sort of going la 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 la, and then by the time the Syrahs, I can't speak, Shiraz had mellowed enough, then the Viognier would say, right, okay, over to you now. Do we need it now? It's questionable, but it's a style that's certainly popular, and Australia has got a lot of to do with the popularity of the style around the world. There's a winery called Clonakilla that I think was probably the first Aussie one to really make a splash with it in the late 90s. Stick my nose in there and I get a bit of that Viognier peachiness, and compared with the one before, I don't know, are we still in Clare Valley here? Here we are. I don't get that, it feels like there's a fresher, more peppery edge to the Syrah here, so I don't know whether it's different vineyards or the same vineyard picked a bit earlier, but this feels a bit more lively and vibrant compared to the ever so slightly thoddy licorice on the one before. Honest, but a bit more spice and spikiness. Well, the weird thing about these two is I'd say friendly, juicy berry fruit about both of them. But here, there's a bit more life and vibrancy about that berry fruit. Is it the Viognier giving it that? Is it the different character of the Syrah stroke Shiraz in the first place? I'm not sure. But there's a bit more vibrancy and life here. The first one, ever so slightly heavy. This one, just a bit more daintiness about it. I would almost prefer them, if they are picking it earlier, to use a little bit less Viognier, because there's some of that slightly peachy apricot character that I feel on the finish. But nice wine. Still prefer the two Frenchies. Let's get on to Pinotage. I don't know what I think about a wine that's called Pinotage. Anyway, Pinotage, Pinotage, made by KWV for Marks and Spencer's. Matured in oak barrels to enhance its unique natural coffee character. I'm always in two minds when people say things like that. I don't know if I want my wine to taste overtly of coffee in the way that I don't want it to taste overtly of mint or herbs or anything. I don't want to be able to take a wine apart. I want to be able to not see the joins between one type of flavour and the next. It just flows through. So my hackles are slightly up here, but hey, I might be wrong. No, I was right. I stick my nose in there and it smells like not so much coffee, but coffee stroke mocha chocolate wafer biscuits. It's a style of wine that I'm really not all that keen on. It works for some people, but for me it's just almost too much of a good thing. It's what I call the cream and custard treatment. So yes, can't fault it for richness of flavour, can't fault it for intensity, but how much of it do I want to drink? It's the sort of wine that if you had that, if it were a person at a dinner party, that would be the loud voice that you'd always be able to hear and you'd never be able to tune out of. It's just a bit too assertive. It really is. It is an honest, rich flavour. It's a flavour that I don't mind, but I don't want too much of it. I'd want like half a glass. After that, I would get. I'd want it to go and tell it to go and put the kids to bed and not come back. Well, I know some people love that style of wine. Personally, it doesn't frap my boot on. Hey, if we all like the same wines, as I have said before, dreadfully boring. Let's see whether I like this one. Jordan, still in South Africa, Jordan Stellenbosch Syrah, the Prospector. Now, if people put Syrah on rather than Shiraz in South Africa, tends to mean that they're pursuing a slightly more elegant, I'm going to give my glass a quick rinse. They're pursuing a slightly more elegant, spicy, Rhone-like character rather than a fuller, fleshier, quasi-Australian character. Is this correct here? Now this is intriguing because I stick my nose in for the first time and the first thing I smelt was, wait for it, ready salted crisps. But then I gave it a bit more agitation and then the fruit started to come out. I have no idea where the ready salted crisps came from. Maybe there's a touch of volatility, but then the wine just like springs above it. And now I'm getting this really earthy, plummy, herbal, juicy, almost pomegranate-like character coming through. It smells like it's going to be really rich, but have a juicy, refreshing quality to it. It smells like it's not. They've not gone overboard on either extraction or oak, and it smells like it's going to be pretty nice. Well, it's a very tasty style of wine, and I'm particularly impressed by it for it being from Jordan. I'll be honest, with some of the Jordan wines that I've had before have been a little bit too what I call creases in the jeans. They've been well made, but they feel like there's been a bit of control freakery about them. But here it feels like there's a little bit more wildness, and I hope it's a mixture. I'm sure there's a vineyard character, but I hope it's a cellar thing as well, because what I like is when people know how to make wine but also know when to stop, and here it feels like someone has known not to try and get too much flavour out of the grapes because there's plenty in there in the first place. So you're getting this richness, this roundness, this seductive, so it's 14.5%, so you do get a little bit of that warmth of alcohol, but they've not gone over the top and mashed the hell out of the grapes in order to get as much flavour as possible, and as a result they've got a far tastier, savoury, complex, friendly, but yeah, interesting wine. That's pretty tasty wine. That for me eclipses those two Frenchies that I've been crowing on about for the rest of the flight. But also, I think that you saw it. I've just opened the screw cap. I think that wine will be one which. What time are we now? 4:15. I think I might even shove the screw cap back on and watch it again tomorrow, because I think that there's a even more interesting wine than what is showing at the moment, waiting to come out, which is waiting, and so I might give it the chance. See you soon.